On today's podcast, we're talking about 3 cultural strategies to pursue in the new year ahead. What does it look like to welcome people into your culture more effectively? Work out culturally throughout your organization, and be mindful about the cultural wake your people are leaving for others. Welcome back to the Thermostat with Jason Barger. If you're currently on a commute, a walk, or just a micro break in your day, glad you're making time to step back, to think, and to reflect on the next steps on your journey. I've never been more convinced the best leaders and team cultures in the world are the ones that make time to step back, breathe in good oxygen, and calibrate their thermostat. I hope today's conversation leaves you feeling grounded and inspired. Now let's dive into today's topic to engage our minds and hearts in order to authentically lead and create compelling cultures wherever we are in the world. Hey everyone, it's Jason and welcome back to the Thermostat Podcast. Wherever you are, however you're coming to the podcast today, welcome in. So glad you are here. We are in season 8, which fancy way of saying we got about 220 episodes. And if you've been with us from the very beginning, then so glad this continues to add value to your life and your work. And if you're new to the podcast, welcome in. Hope you'll go back, check out some of the old episodes. So much great stuff is a part of this already. And I'm just very grateful for all the listeners and for the opportunity to get to do this. My commitment to you, as always, is going to be, I hope that the things that we talk about on here breathe a little good oxygen into you, help you think about the temperature that you're trying to set in your own life and your own work. And I hope that's valuable to you and helps get you thinking in some good ways. So I hope you'll do me the favor also before we start today is just take a moment to rate the podcast 5 stars. If there's episodes that have really resonated with you, obviously rate them, but leave an authentic review in your own words. And then also, if there's episodes that resonate with you, share them with the people in your life, your work. Hey, to your team, you're on social media or whatever's authentic to you. Hey, let's listen to this and talk about it. And I think it will spur some great conversation, but also that's the way these messages spread and grow and get amplified. And that's the way, that this thing works. So I hope you'll help us do that. Thanks to everybody that does. As we enter a new year and look out the windshield for the future cultures that we are trying to create into the future, let's rinse and repeat a couple, just some terminology real quickly, especially if anybody's new to the podcast, just to make sure we're all on the same page for today's episode of the 3 culture strategies for a new year. And a reminder that culture is dynamic, which means it's always changing. It's not static. It's always changing. It's always evolving. It's always growing. And it is shaped moment by moment every day by the way we think, act, and interact. And every single person within a cultural ecosystem helps create the culture in a healthy way, of their thinking, acting, and, and interacting, or in an unhealthy way, or in a way that you want or a way that you don't want. Every single person, again, you think about a family culture, every single person plays a role in the creating it, and it's always growing and developing. Every team culture, every organizational culture, it's always growing and in the way we think, act, and interact. And you know that in past episodes, I've talked about the concept of cultural dissonance, which is a fancy term in the culture shaping world, what it means is when our actions and behaviors do not align with the culture that we say we want. We say one thing, but we do something different. And therefore, it creates this kind of dissonance that everybody around us feels. So wherever you are in your own cultural journey as a team, as an organization, as a relationship, culture is never finished. And there are always more opportunities to better shape the future you want to create. Sometimes your culture doesn't need a total, tear down and start, rebuild it from the beginning, although sometimes that's necessary. But more times than not, your culture just needs to be renovated. It just needs to be, hey, let's figure out what are from the great things from our past that we want to pull forward, and how might we change some things, stimulate some progress, make some adjustments. So on today's podcast, we're talking about 3 cultural strategies to pursue in the new year ahead. What does it look like to welcome people into your culture more effectively? Work out culturally throughout your organization and be mindful about the cultural wake your people are leaving for others. But before we dive into today's topic, let's pause, take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Many teams and organizations right now are realizing that they need to do both. They need to engage the minds and hearts of their people in person, where everyone in the room can experience the energy of congregating together and find clarity for the road ahead. And they also need to continue to find ways to engage the minds and hearts of their people virtually, with those who are working remotely or at a distance. So, if you are in the process of planning your next team meeting, company all-hands event, conference, or culture summit, and are looking for support with a powerful keynote speech, facilitated team conversations that are the currency for change, or deeper development on leadership mindset and an intentional strategy for the culture you're trying to create, I hope you'll contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. It is my privilege and our honor to partner with great people to provide support in these areas. We want to breathe oxygen into your leaders and throughout your organization so you can set the temperature you want for your culture. We look forward to connecting with you soon. I hope you'll contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. It is my privilege and our honor to partner with great people to provide support in these areas. We want to breathe oxygen into your leaders and throughout your organization so you can set the temperature you want for your culture. We look forward to connecting with you soon. So again, culture is dynamic, which means it's always changing. It's not static. It's always evolving, growing, and changing. And it's shaped moment by moment every single day by the way we think, act, and interact. And every person throughout a cultural ecosystem plays a role in shaping the culture that we experience, again, in good ways or in bad ways, by the way we think, act, and interact. And, in a past episode, if you want to look back at the episode that I did about, I referenced Kevin Oakes' book, Culture Renovation. If you want to listen to that episode, I'll dive into deeper depth on that episode, of course. But, I referenced that not all cultures need a total tear down and rebuild. Most just need to be revitalized through a renovation or a refreshed vision. And I like this metaphor that Kevin talks about because he talks about the culture shaping journey as that kind of renovation. That, we don't always need a tear down, but we do need to continue to renovate, to polish, to stimulate progress. And a lot of his language really connects with language that I use. Wherever you are in your cultural journey, if you're thinking about your team, your organization, your family, whatever your relationships, every once in a while, it's time to step back and assess where are you and where are you hoping to go into the future. And your renovation or the future that you're trying to create may require you to see it with new eyes. Your culture may be in kind of design mode where maybe you need to do some dreaming, some visioning, some designing of that future culture. And your team and your organization may need help with that, facilitating that kind of process to vision and design and think about the culture you want to create. You may be in building mode, which you already have a vision for what you want to create and where you're trying to go as a culture, but we need to practice. We need to put some walls and anchor some things in the culture so that it becomes the future we want. Or it may already feel like it's been built, but you're in maintenance mode, which means that, as we've talked about in the past, you need to continue to breathe oxygen into it and take care of it, or else we can't just assume it'll stay, in a good shape forever. Wherever you are, today I want to talk about 3 cultural strategies for the new year. And I want to use kind of 3 W words to help describe it. So 3 cultural these aren't the only strategies, of course, but for a podcast like this, I want to give you just 3 quick thoughts. And certainly if you want to expand further, reach out to me and we will dive deeper as how to help support you and your organization or your team. But 3 cultural strategies that I encourage every team and organization to think about in a new year. One has to do with the word welcome. How do you welcome or onboard new leaders or new employees culturally into your organization? How do you welcome or onboard new leaders or employees culturally into your organization? And what's your strategy to do so? Onboarding is not an orientation. It's not a one-day thing. It's an opportunity all organizations and all teams have in today's world is to realize that the culture is dynamic and growing and evolving. And so they can't assume that new people entering their cultural ecosystem understand and align with the future culture that you aim to create. And also, they aren't sure if they don't even know what it is, aren't sure how their contributions or their gifts, their strengths can help make it even better. So I'm a big fan, and I with many of the teams and organizations that I support, of working on and making sure that we think about a cultural onboarding roadmap to help teach, engage, and develop good cultural habits from the very beginning of their relationship with the organization. We are more likely to retain great people when they feel a sense of belonging and from the beginning are welcomed into their contribution to the culture in their own unique ways. And so on that roadmap, establishing guideposts for the onboarding experience, not only just day one and that orientation, if you will, but what is day 7, day 30, day 90, day 180, day 365 and beyond? Let's be intentional about anchoring and developing the habits and the culture that we want, because when we do that, the new people into the culture, they create habits that are actually in alignment of the future that we're aiming to create. So one of the culture strategies is to think about that word welcome and how are we onboarding new leaders and employees culturally in the organization. The second cultural strategy to think about in the new year is, are we working out? Are we working out? Which means, and I don't mean just a physical workout, although I hope you're doing that too, like your actual physical fitness. I'm talking about culturally, are you working out? Are all leaders, and then at all levels within the organization, are you continuing to work on their cultural fitness? So once you've onboarded people, and again, I've done a whole episode on this idea of moving beyond just cultural fit with somebody and evolving it into the dialogue and the development around cultural fitness. But the best leaders, teams, and organizations realize that their development, the growth, and alignment with that future culture that they want to create is never finished. We never are completely, quote unquote, in shape. But we do need to tend to the culture. We need to continue to work out together, to talk about culture, to identify the ways we can do things better, to grow and challenge ourselves, stretch ourselves, to continue to create that culture together. You've heard me talk about, and again, I've done a whole podcast on this idea of what we allow lingers and what we teach triggers. The habits, the mode of operations that we allow that are counter to what we want, they can kind of linger and fester. And no organization is perfect, so we all have them. But if we can identify those habits or operations that are lingering, that aren't really what we want, then we can say, well, what would we teach differently? What are the new habits, the new mode of operation that we can teach that will trigger a new and positive chain reaction for the future? Everyone throughout the organization is committed to continuous development when you have a culture that is committed to cultural fitness, cultural workouts to align with each other and stimulate progress. So what is your strategy to help all throughout the organization contribute and engage in cultural workouts? And the third strategy, the last one I'll talk about at least for today, is the word wake. Wake. Every person in your cultural ecosystem leaves a wake, ripples behind them like a passing boat based on how they do what they do, not just what they do, how they show up to do the work, how they show up with the people around them. Every single one of us leave a wake, ripples behind us. And so what is the wake that we are leaving? The image comes to mind is that the passing boat that creates that wake and creates the waves that all the other people around it feel. We know this to be true in every organizational setting. All leaders create a wake for those around them. All managers create a wake within their teams. All frontline employees create a wake with those they serve. The question is the wake the one we want to be leaving, or is there opportunity to adjust the way we drive together? One of the effective strategies that has been effective in in the organizations I serve is to identify who are those emerging leaders throughout our organization and helping them earlier on in their experience in our culture to learn, develop, and think and create habits around that wake, those ripples that they leave for the people around them. Intentional development alignment for the culture. We don't want people to just emulate the person that they've learned from that leaves that disruptive wake. We want people to learn how to leave a wake that supports, brings out the best in people, and helps us ultimately achieve the results that we're looking for. But we got to remember that what we allow lingers and what we teach triggers. So the three strategies is to think about, how are we welcoming people? Are we continuously working out, and what's our strategy to work out with everybody in all levels across the organization? And are we intentional about the wake, the ripples that we're leaving of how we do what we do, not just what we do? So some questions to ponder for today. In what ways are you welcoming or onboarding new leaders and employees into your culture, and how could it be improved? How is your team or organization committed to working out culturally to stay aligned and committed to your cultural fitness? How are you supporting the emerging leaders in your culture and helping them create good habits, development for the wake they leave behind them? So, I hope today's episode got you thinking in some new ways. If a deeper dive is interesting to you, or you have other feedback for us, email us info@jasonvbarger.com, and we'll continue to design content to help meet you where you are. I hope you'll go back and listen to any past episodes that I referenced today, and I hope it adds value to you. Cheers to the path ahead of us, and remember that the future of leadership is you, is me, is us. We have an opportunity to get clear on the temperature that we hope to set, and then be courageous and committed to breathing oxygen into the mindsets and actions that will sustain our path forward. Step back. Remember, be a thermostat and breathe good oxygen. Thank you for listening to today's podcast, and I hope the messages and questions stimulate positive change along your path. As always, if these messages resonate with you and add value to your life, I hope you'll help amplify them throughout the world. Please rate, comment, and share on whatever podcast or social media platform you're using, and share this podcast with the people in your life or work who should be part of these conversations. That way, this spirit does, in fact, spread. If these messages or developing leaders and culture would be helpful to you and your organization, please contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. And remember, we are all ambassadors for the culture we want to create in our life and work. We have to own the vision we want to be a part of. The future of leadership is you, is me, is us. Be a thermostat.